Hello, everybody. Welcome to our positive parenting session. And today we are going to talk about the mother's role versus father's role. We have quite a few of you who have registered and are here today. We are still waiting for some more of our parents to log in. In the meantime, let's take some questions. Let's hear from some of you on would you like us to address anything specific in today's session? Please feel free. You want to share anything from our last session? You want to ask something? You would want us to address something? Please feel free. You can unmute yourself and speak. Who would like to go next? Who would like to talk? All right. Would anybody like to ask anything? Would anybody like to say anything specific? All right. Looks like there are no questions and there's nothing specific you would want us to talk. All right. So I'm Pawan Goel. I'm founder of Blue Blocks. Today on this call, we also have Munira, who's co-founder of Blue Blocks. Both of us did our Montessori training in the year 2004, 2005 for the age group of 3 to 6 year old children. And since then, we have been planning to start this school and we started this in the year 2009. We have completed 11 academic years. We have started a complete school in the year 2017 at Tellapur. Our preschool is at Gachibowli, Hyderabad. So let's see what is today's session about. Today's session is about mother's role versus father's role. In today's session, we are not going to do any comparison and neither are we trying to create any competition between the role mothers play and between the role fathers play. All right. It is to understand what is possible, what kind of role can a mother play, what kind of role can a father play in the child's overall development. What will it take for both the parents to support the child development to the optimum level? What will it take for us to take care of the child's emotional development, social development, language development, brain development, physical development, and intellectual development? All right. So that's what today's session is about. So in today's session, I am going to talk about the mother's role and Munira is going to talk about father's role. Yes, you heard it right. I'm going to talk about mother's role and Munira is going to talk about father's role. So begin. Let's begin with what what is mother's role? Mother's role is all about sacrifices. Mother's role is full of sacrifices, isn't it? Mother has to conceive and carry the baby for 9 months in the womb. Mother has to add up 20 kgs of weight. It impacts her body, it impacts her mental state, and the fetus takes away all the nutrients from the mother's body without worrying about is there enough for the mother or not, including the nutrients like iron. The fetus could take it away, and the mother has to deal with post birth if there is any shortage, isn't it? And if the mother is a working mother, she has to sacrifice her career. Mother is sacrificing her health. If it's a normal delivery, the mother has to go through the birthing process and the pain of that birthing process. And if the birthing process is cesarean, then the mother has to deal with the surgery and the impact of the surgery post birth and the marks on her body. Post birth, mother has to go through and deal with all those sleepless nights to feed the baby, to change nappies, and to take care of the baby if the baby is sick. And there's nobody around mother to thank her. It's the most thankless job. Nobody acknowledges the mother's sacrifice and the effort. That's what mother's role is about. What would you like to say about father's role, Munira?
Yeah, I mean, with all that you have shared about all the sacrifices that a mother makes, let's look at what goes on in the father's mind. While the father is not conceiving the child, is not carrying the child for those long 9 months, is not giving birth and not going through that birthing process, now this person is suddenly not just responsible for two people, but for three. And the kind of sacrifices that a father is going to have to make are not even considered in our culture or in our society. A father has to take care of this family, keep it together, do everything in his in his strength to make sure that this family stays the way he has always imagined it to be. Most often than not, men take a little time to deal with the entire process of becoming a father. But once they do, I think the sense of responsibility that they start taking up is very huge. And while we all feel that the father does not experience the pains, well, he just doesn't express them. But the pain and the difficulties that a pregnancy poses on the mother, there are similar difficulties that the father is facing too. The 9 months of making sure that every month at the doctor's checkup he's there, he's ensuring that the wife is doing okay. I think these are the kind of sacrifices that a father goes through too, and all the planning, all the financial, the emotional, the physical planning, the planning of the house, everything. The mother can, uh, sometimes can choose not to take up her career and stay home, whereas the father now has to work double. So there are a lot of aspects of the father's role which are sometimes not even considered and even negated. But what a father experiences in those 9 months and then goes through some amount of birthing pain himself is also something that we all need to consider and keep in mind. So that's what a father's role is all about. And plus, once the baby is around, and everything is about the mom, isn't it? So if the mom says these are your your grandparents, the child knows that these are the grandparents. Whoever it is that the mom is introducing the child to, child relates to them the most. Whereas the father is just around, sometimes not given enough importance even in that unit that we call a family. So, father's sacrifices, father's role is as important and almost equivalent to that of the mother. And that is going to be the beginning of today's session. Yes,
That's
Rohit,
very
over to you.
heartwarming to hear about how a mother can recognize the father's role and the effort which the father is putting. Let's
Absolutely.
yeah, let's look at what happens right from the conception. The moment the mother conceives and the doctor validates that yes, you are pregnant, everything changes for the mother. The mother's maternal instincts are triggered at that moment, the moment when the doctor says that you are pregnant. For the mother, it is all about the fetus, all about the unborn baby in the womb. It is about how do I take care of this young one? What nutrients does the baby need? How do I make sure that I'm taking care of myself and taking care of the baby? The mother is very, very high on every aspect of the emotion. The mother's emotional state is going through too many highs and lows. And this is the time where everybody around the mother need to understand the mother's state of mind. Mother might react for anything, sometimes overreact to certain things because of those hormonal changes in the body. Now, mother can start speaking to the baby right from when the fetus is 2 months old. The fetus can listen to mother's heartbeat, mother's voice, and the fetus can hear anything and everything which the mother is saying, and anything which is around spoken around the mother's abdomen, the fetus can listen. So mother can also start singing songs right away. This is the time to start singing all those favorite songs of yours. Your favorite songs will become your child's favorite songs. And if the mother has been singing certain songs consistently, Post birth, whenever the child is upset or crying, if the mother is singing those songs which she has sung during prenatal life, it has a very deep soothing impact on the baby. So what we need to do is sing several songs and few songs surely repeatedly so that there is enough memory of those songs for the baby. At around 5 months, fetus also start kicking its legs, and when the fetus is kicking its legs, the mother can respond by touching at the place where the fetus is kicking, and you can actually start to play with the child right there. I'm sure all of you have enough information about how to take care in terms of nutrition, and there's a lot of content online available for the nutrition. It is very important for the mother to keep herself pretty happy. So, when the mother is happy, you're releasing endorphins which pass on to the baby. A mother who is pretty happy during the prenatal life, during the pregnancy, will have a child who's a happy child. What would you like to say about the father's role during prenatal life, Meera?
Yes, thank you, Pavan. I think that hearing that all over again was really amazing because, when a mom goes through all these experiences, there's one person who is standing by her, and that's the father, right? So the father can also participate in building the bond with the child even before birth. This prenatal stage is a time where the mother and child are already connected, but the father is a separate entity altogether. And to start creating an identity for himself, he can start talking to the baby right from the time that the baby can start listening, which is 2 months of age. Much more important than that would be to make sure that the mother's state of mind is always kept at a very peaceful and happy level. And like Pavan said, that the mother releases endorphins when she's happy. It's important to make sure that she experiences that happiness all the time. And these 9 months play a very important role in the life of a child post birth. What are the experiences that the mother and father have had together in these 9 months can have a deep impact on the child's life forever, for the rest of the time. So it's important to make sure that these 9 months are the most beautiful phase, because this is the time that you're creating this baby together. So talking to the baby, singing songs to the baby, repeatedly singing the same song, like Pavan said, the child starts developing a memory for that tune, that intonation, that music which he's listening to. And post birth, the same can be used to soothe the baby. Now, this, if the father is doing, let's say if every day the father comes back home and sings to the baby, I know it may sound a little awkward, and also a little different, because you're speaking to the mother's tummy basically. But having done that for a consistent period of time ensures that the baby has enough memory of your voice. In fact, we've had many experiences where fathers have shared how they have spoken to the fetus for 9 months, and post birth, when the father again spoke to the baby actually turned, trying to locate where the sound was coming from, because the baby had memory of that sound. And that was one of the most amazing. It was a hair raising experience when a parent shared this, that he could actually speak to the baby and baby could recognize the voice. So that's how you start building your identity right from even before birth, during this 9 months of time as a father. Yes,
Okay,
Pawan.
let's see what's happening during the birthing process. Birthing process can be a nightmare because of all the fear which is built up, that how painful the labor is going to be. But yet the mothers put up all the courage to finally deliver the baby. And when the baby is born, what is recommended by the psychologist is that the umbilical cord not to be cut right away. So when the baby is born, when the baby is out of the womb, the baby is totally lost. All that comfort and connection the baby had with the mother is totally gone at this moment. So before even cutting the umbilical cord, if the mother is putting the baby on her chest, The baby gets to experience mother's smell, mother's voice, and hear mother's heartbeat, which is reassuring for the baby that yes, I am with the mother. And only then we cut the umbilical cord. What do you think should be the father's role during the birthing process, Manita?
Yeah. I think one thing that all fathers need to remember is that your relationship with your child will always go through the mother. There is no shying away from that, there's no escaping from that. And as a father, you're never competing with the mother of the baby. You're all the time looking at your role as a separate role, but through the mother. So while the mother goes through that entire process, being with her at that moment, standing by her, helping her go through that pain with your support, would add to a lot of energy to the mother during this birthing process, and can actually be make the birthing process not just a nightmare, but an experience that you both, or all three of you, have gone through together. Because the kind of pain that the mother experiences, the baby is also experiencing the similar pain during, at least during natural childbirth. Post birth, when the baby is put on the mother's chest, at that moment the father can also start communicating with the baby, talk to the baby, and look at the baby from a whole new dimension, because now the baby is not just a tummy but has come out. So that moment, if you can talk to the baby, can hold the baby very close to you soon after the baby has put on the mother's chest, would be the ideal scenario. Also, most hospitals now allow fathers to come in to cut the umbilical cord, but like Pavan said, wait for a little while till the baby has had that warmth and that experience of listening to the mother's heartbeat again before you do that. But that experience of cutting the umbilical cord is also a very cherishable moment for the father. I've heard many fathers share about how that has been one of the most beautiful experiences of their lives when they saw the baby come out. In fact, you have that privilege to see the baby actually birth. So being there at that moment, being there not just for your wife but for your child, is so much more important. Yes, Pavan.
I was allowed to stay there in the labor room when my wife delivered my younger one. And I felt so great that I could see the baby before my wife. So it was definitely one of the most memorable moments of my life. Yeah. Thanks for getting us to recollect all those memories, Munida. So let's see what happens in the first 2 months. In the first 2 months, it is the time for the mother and child bonding. The baby doesn't need anybody around. All that the baby needs and cares for is the mother to be around. The baby wants that reassurance that it is the same person I am with whom I was with in those 9 months. The child wants to be with the mother's touch, mother's voice, mother's love, mother's care, mother's physical touch, warmth, and the mother's milk. That is all that the baby needs in the first 2 months. So mother's role is all the more significant in the first 2 months. What do you think fathers can do in the first 2 months, Munida?
Yeah. So first 2 months are dedicated to the mother and the baby, and so should be the father's role, dedicated to the mother and the baby, and more to the mother than to the baby is what I would say. This is the time where the more close the mother and the child are, the better it is for the child's growth and development, and for the sense of security that the child needs in the first 2 months. And at this moment, the mother being extremely accepting of the baby, extremely loving towards the baby, is very, very important. And these emotions can be, sometimes can play havoc because of all the hormonal changes that a mother goes through. But what helps at this time is to have a loving caregiver. And the role of the husband in the first 2 months can be that of the caregiver for the mother, where you are completely taking care of your wife, and taking care of the baby as much as you can in terms of the personal care of the baby, but mostly taking care of the mother. So this, the first 2 months, can, I think, when everybody, the entire family, focuses on the child, I think the husband's focus should be on the wife.
Yeah, that's interesting, Manita.
Yeah.
Now let's see what happens between 2 months to 12 months. Between 2 months to 12 months, mother still has to keep feeding the baby daytime, nighttime. Mother is around all the time. The child is holding on to the mother. So mother is taking care of all the aspects of the personal care of the child, giving massage to the baby and taking care of all those needs, emotional, psychological needs of the child, and also the physical, nutritional needs, the personal care needs. So that's what happening between 2 months to 12 months.
Yeah.
So,
It's all, yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, what do you think should be father's role during that time, Munira?
So, 2 months normally marks an important milestone in the child's life. That's when the neck muscles are a little more stronger than they were at birth. So, we have noticed and observed that this is a time where the baby can be held more comfortably by everybody in the family, more so by the father. So, from 2 months onwards, the role of the father has to be focused more towards taking the personal care of the child. See, one of the most important things that fathers need to remember is that your role towards or with your child, your bond with your child, is only going to be created when your child experiences that you are one of the caregivers. You are one of the significant others in the life. Like, see, you and the mother have got this baby together in this world, and all responsibilities of taking care, the physical care of the child, has to be equally divided. And more so in today's time and age, where our families have shrunk, our lives have become more constricted to very few family members. It's so important that the father begins to participate as a caregiver in the child's life. So just like how the mother is involved in bathing, massaging, and changing the baby, the father can also start doing these activities. The more the father is interested and is doing these activities with a lot of love and care and affection, the stronger is the bond with the father and the child. If we all can just think for a few moments about how was our relationship with our father, and if you can just take 1 minute and think about your relationship, for those of who have had an excellent relationship with your fathers, just think about all the activities he used to do with you. Take a minute and think about all the activities that your father did with you right from a young age. Those of who have had a very good relationship with your father, you will observe that your fathers were involved in your personal care. The women on this group, you would remember how your father put oil in your hair, or combed your hair, plaited your hair, or got you ready for school. The men who are on this group, on this call, you would recollect how your father was there to give you a bath, to get you ready, maybe to support you with feeding. These activities of personal care, which we want only somebody very close to us take care of it, these have to be kept in mind when you are focusing on your relationship with your child post 2 months. And at around 6 months, when the doctor tells you that, now you can introduce a top feed for the baby, or, mashed food or solid food for the baby can be introduced, food apart from mother's milk can be introduced, this is an opportunity that fathers should not miss out on. So right from preparing the meal to starting the tasting process for your child can be a responsibility that you can share with your spouse. Now, till 12 months, the baby is going through a lot of changes. There is a lot of language development and movement development happening at this time. And the more you can participate in helping these developments happen in the right direction, your role as a father is going to be taken completely, it's going to be taken care of. So along with the emotional bond that you're going to create with all these activities of personal care, if you can also share a lot of songs, stories, and a lot of things about your own life with your child at a very young age. So talking to your child right from a young age is one of the important aspects that bonds a child with the father. So singing songs, saying stories, sharing how your day was, all of these things will not just take care of the language development until 1 year, but also take care of a lot of other aspects of your bond with your child. Now, around 1 year is when your child starts walking. And I'm sure a lot of fathers wait for this major milestone, because now they can start playing with the child, right? Now you can play kickball, you can play catch, you can play run and catch me. So many of these outdoorish activities that we think about, that fathers wait for, right? So these activities definitely are going to add to your child's overall development, movement development, and is going to enhance your bond. But from 1 year to 3 years, there are a lot of psychological changes that your child is going through. Now the child has everything at his access. He's mobile, he's walking, so he has everything at his access. So ensuring that all these needs of sensorial development, where child is able to touch and feel everything, are being met, can be taken care by the father. So wherever, instead of stopping your child whenever you are home, from work, instead of stopping your child from touching things, feeling things, from exploring things in the environment, if you are to encourage these activities, if you're to encourage this exploration, this would be one of the major aspects of your bond with your child getting strengthened. And now, as your child grows, by the time children are 2 years, and if you have a 2-year-old little child at home, you would know that they don't have a lot of patience to listen, because this is the time that they want to talk about everything. They will start speaking in a lot of in a kind of language which nobody understands, and then they start speaking in a language that only the parents can understand, finally to a language that the rest of the world can also understand. So all these phases have to be supported, and the only way to support this language development, apart from of course talking a lot to your child, is by being a good listener. Many a times, especially in our culture, the role of a father is that of a disciplinarian, or to play the bad cop. So either you're playing the bad cop, or you're playing somebody who's spoiling the child all the time, right? But there is much more than this to the father, than just playing this one singular role. Like the role of the father is undermined and is not given its due share, because there is so much more that is possible with the child, and not just being a playmate, but being somebody that can listen to the father, or can, the father can have this conversation where the child feels that the father has heard him. So these are the various aspects of the child's development and the role that you can play in your child's life between the age of 1 to 3 years.
So
Yes, Pavan.
yeah. So at around one, mothers start to think about beginning their career again or rejoining the work they were already doing. And many a times mothers are not sure whether they should do that or not. And if they join the work, they feel guilty. If they don't join, they feel guilty about it. What I have realized is that mothers go through lot of guilt about choosing to work, about not choosing to work. Mothers have too many expectations and start feeling guilty about everything. Like I feel mothers are born guilty. Guilty if the child is crying, guilty if the child has not eaten enough, guilty if the child is not able to study. They are not able to, if child is not able to focus and concentrate, they feel guilty. I feel mothers are guilty all the time. If they don't get to spend enough time with child, they feel guilty. If they don't spend enough quality time, they feel guilty. If they're not feeding enough nutritious food to the child, they feel guilty. So, and out of this guilt, mothers sometimes lose their cool and react toward the child, and they are further guilty that they have lost their control and they have lost their cool and reacted towards the child. No matter how much you do, what I want you to get is children will complain. Children will only complain. Children will complain that you're not spending enough time with them. Children will complain that you are not giving them what they want. Children will complain. Everybody getting that? So you can never make children completely happy. Guilt is going to be there constantly. You can experience the joy of motherhood only when you can get over that guilt. There's nothing to be guilty about. Each one of you, as a mother, you have given your heart out to the child. How can you be guilty about what you haven't done? I haven't met a single mother who said, I am the best mother. I'm so happy and proud as a mother that I have done everything great for children. I've interacted with few thousands of the mothers, and I have seen every mother being guilty. You got to spend some me time. You should start doing things which you like. You should start doing things which make you feel good. You should start doing things which make you feel happy. You got to be a happy mother to raise a happy child. You can't be guilty all the time and then raise a happy child, raise a child to his optimum level. Isn't that, Munira?
Absolutely, Pawan. And hearing that from you, is really very, very heartwarming and very gratifying. Actually, a man saying that the woman should have some me time, because it's not just about the mother being happy, but the entire family unit experiencing and constantly reverberating that happiness. It's said that while it takes two to bring a child into the world, it takes a village to raise the child. So the responsibility of raising the child is not a small responsibility. It is not something that can be dealt with in a just by hiring someone. It is something that you will have to be dealing with all your life. Whether your child is 2 months old or is going to be 20, you are going to experience exactly what you are experiencing right now as a parent. The fears, the insecurities, the challenges that you're facing are only going to be different when they're older, but they are still going to be there. So the role of parents, right, at this age, and the role of parents at this time of our lives especially, is not any it cannot be undermined. It cannot be taken very lightly. It is a very serious role. Yet in all that seriousness, there is an important factor of both of you being extremely happy, both the mother and the father being happy to be able to raise this child. Now, I know that, parents sometimes can have challenges and differences, but always, always ensure that the impact of these differences are never experienced by your children.
Yes.
Pawan, would you like to add something to
Yes,
this?
totally. There will be differences. There are no two ways about it. But what we want you to get is the child loves the mother, child loves the father, and the child cannot see both of them fighting, arguing in front of the child. Sort out your differences behind the child when the child is not around, after the child has slept. Go to another room, sort out those differences. But you got to show how much you care for each other, how much you love each other. You should express your emotions to each other in front of children. And culturally, we actually don't do that.
Yeah.
So, what children only end up seeing is in their presence, parents fight, in their absence, parents make love. So what children need to see is that you're not making love in front of children. One second.
I'll take care of that, Pawan.
What we want to ensure is that we hold our hands together, we talk good stuff about each other, and not just keep complaining about each other in front of children. So one of the major roles of the mother between 1 and 3 can be to help the child become independent. With our mothers, majority of the time goes into taking care of children's personal care and clean up the mess around children. And I know with some mothers, they end up spending few hours every single day just to feed the child. Now what I'm going to talk about will not just help you with not wasting too much of time in taking care of children's personal care, but this will also help children become independent. From around 1 year, you will see the child start showing enough signs of independence. Whenever you're helping the child with wearing pants, feeding, taking bath, you would see the child want to snatch it from you and want to do it all by himself. So when you are helping the child with wearing pant and the child is snatching the pants from you, what do you think the child is communicating? The child is saying, let me do it myself. Now you take it back. So when mother is taking back, what are we saying to the child? I love you. I love you so much. I will do this for you. That love, those instincts which mothers have, actually sometimes can be detrimental and a hindrance for your child's learning, growth, and development. Those instincts are so strong that mothers do not see them as a sign for independence from children. Imagine if you start letting child to eat all by himself, dress himself, undress himself, take care of himself, use the washroom himself, take bath, majority of it all by himself at around 1.5, 2. By the time the child is 2, the child can be totally independent. And then you have all the time for yourself, and you have all the time to spend that quality time doing the activities for their language development, motor coordination, for their sensorial development, for their social development, for their brain development. You can only do it when you start helping the child become independent. Culturally, we as Indians do not focus on children becoming independent. We focus on we as parents doing everything for them, and majority of the time it's the mother who is taking care of the child's personal care and personal needs. So A, you're burning out. B, it is detrimental for the child's development. So how, what kind of independence are we talking about? First, we are talking about independence with regard to personal care. Let them start eating all by themselves, and eating time should be eating time. It's not TV time, it's not story time. Let the child eat without any deviation. When the child is touching the food, it ignites the child's sensorial stimulation. That ignites certain saliva in the mouth and curiosity for the child to now put in mouth. It helps the child with hand and mouth coordination. The child starts to see what he or she is eating, understand what he or she is eating. The child starts to understand how much he or she is eating, which doesn't happen with the current culture of YouTube feeding. In the current culture of YouTube feeding, the child doesn't know what he's eating, how much he's eating, they don't chew, and that leads to several issues of food, several issues around food habits. All right. So, what we as mothers need to focus on is the child's independence, child becoming independent, to start eating all by himself. When you're giving bath, even your 1 year old, if you can give him or her a small jar which the child can hold and pour water, you rub soap on the hands, on the stomach, you put a little soap and let the child rub it all over. That's how you begin to help the child become independent. Our role as a parent, as a mother, is not to do things for them. Your role as a mother is to help them become independent. And it's not because I'm saying, it is because children want to be independent. They are designed to be independent. If you don't let them be independent, if you don't support and nurture in their independence between 1 to 3 years, now they start becoming dependent on you. And at around 4, when you realize that they start doing things all by themselves, it's already too late. And now they don't want to do it. And now they want mama to do anything and everything. So most of the mothers, the instinct is so strong that those instincts don't let them. So you got to have control over your own maternal instincts. All right. Yeah.
Yes.
Over to you,
Yes,
Millie.
Pawan, when you shared about how it is the emotions that your child experiences, it's unfortunate that sometimes in our culture, men or fathers, are restricted from showing their emotions. Our the role of the father has come down or has boiled down to just being the finance manager. He's the one who brings the money at home, and that's about it. But there is so much more to the role of this father. The only thing that children get to see is how father is working from morning to evening, is most of the times not available at home, comes home late, but brings in the money. And other than that, this father is just there when you need something. But his emotions are never seen, his feelings are never expressed. In fact, these are the things which most children grow up with. We have an opportunity today to change that, to make a difference to our children's life by looking at what else can we do as fathers. Yes, you are always going to be the caregiver of this family, you are going to be the caretaker of this family, you are going to be the primary earning member of this family. You do have all those responsibilities on your shoulders. This was something that you have selected, you have chosen. This is the path you have chosen. But is this enough for today's children? Is it enough? Was it enough back then? I don't think so. And it's never going to be enough. Because what children require is to really see who you are as a father, that you are, even before you became a father, you are an individual, you're a person, and you have emotions like everybody else. So as a father, the more you are open about your emotions to your children, the more you are open with your feelings to your children, and not just constrict yourself to being strong all the time, I think this would make a huge difference in the lives of our children, I think, for the rest of this generation. Because it is something that children need to see, that always being strong is not the option. Okay, it's not that you always have to be strong and put up this brave front. You are an individual, you have your own emotions and feelings, and it's okay to show these emotions and feelings at times. It's okay to show them all the time too. That does not make your child any less strong. It does not, it will not make your child somebody who's vulnerable, but that is what will give him strength to be who he is as he grows up. And that's so important to consider, that all the stereotypes attached to the father are all in one direction. Everything else mother does. The role of the father is so constricted, so tiny, so minuscule, that unless children or sometimes even the family needs something, nobody is coming to the father. But as a father, what do you need? You need the support of your family, and for that you need to show that you need that support. Most children, or uh, uh, most boys, when they grow up, they do have a lot of control issues. They have issues with authority, and that's because of how their fathers have been with them. So the need to control everything, to the need to keep everything in a certain way, is not always good for children. So what is your role? Your role is to not just be like the father who's taking responsibility of everything, not just be the responsible one all the time, but also be somebody who your child can relate to, and who you can relate to as an individual and as a person. See, it's so important for you to be able to relate to yourself as a father. Sometimes, mother's instincts start coming in as soon as the mother comes to know that she's pregnant, because of all these changes that the body is going through. But the father's instinct takes a little more time to kick in. Most of often than not, the first moment when you see your child is when your paternal instincts actually come into play. But these paternal instincts, the instinct to keep your child safe, the instinct to keep your child secure, the instinct to be responsible for your child, is something that is guiding your behavior all the time with your child. Yes, you have to keep them safe and secure. Yes, you have to be responsible for them. But how do you make sure that you are also their friend? You are also somebody that they come to you for anything that they need, anything that they want to discuss and share and talk about. And I'm sure, with very young children, that is not such a big deal because they're always coming to you. But as they grow up, they are not going to come to you anymore. So 0 to 6 years is sometimes all we have with our children. We have to make the best of this time, because after 6 years, it's mostly friends that children listen to and children will want to go to. They come home only to eat and sleep sometimes. After 12, they don't want anybody but themselves. After 18, they will not want us even. So we have very little time with them. And that's the time we have to encash. That's the time you have to show your child that you're really there for them. And especially fathers. So, start becoming a little more open, especially with your emotions and feelings. every day can be a beautiful experience where you are talking about your experiences as you were growing up. You talk about your day to day experiences with your children. That's how you'll slowly start opening up and start sharing your emotions and your feelings as well with children. Yes, Pawan.
Yeah. So I would like to, share something which I always think about. I always envy mothers for being gifted by the nature to be able to carry a baby in their womb and give birth and nurse them. I wish I could do that, but I know I'll never be able to. Nature has chosen you because of the amount of patience you have, the amount of mental and physical strength you have to go through the labor. You are the privileged one. You are the chosen one. While I envy you on one hand, I also know that I do not have the courage to go through the challenges each one of you have gone through during that phase. Probably that's why nature has not chosen us. While being a mother is a thankless job, I'm sure it's also one of the most fulfilling and emotionally gratifying. I'm sure this is the best thing which would have happened to you.
I think out of all the roles we play, the role of being a mother is most precious to us.
Yeah,
And so is the role of playing a father.
absolutely. So we have around 14 minutes. Let us know if you want us to discuss anything specific. We have a very interesting chapter which we have written in this book, Lining the Nest. There's a chapter on independence. We did speak about independence. So if you want a soft copy of that chapter on independence, please share your email ID with us and we'll ensure that you get a mail on that. So we have 13 minutes. Would you want us to specifically address? So some of you wanted us to talk about 7 to 12 years as well. Let's address parents' role between 6 to 12. 6 to 12 children are going through the intellectual phase. 6 to 12 is the phase where they are very high on imagination and reasoning. You can start narrating stories about history, stories about evolution. You can involve them with doing a lot of things where they are not just exploring the material but start to make 3D models through origami. There are a lot of interesting science experiments online which you can do with your children at home, because the academic learning doesn't focus on children learning by doing things. So that has to be one of the major role of parents between 6 to 12. You can involve children in playing a lot of board games. So what I tell parents is between 4 to 12, children should be playing 50 to 100 board games, 50 to 100 different board games, which takes care of different kinds of thinking, be it strategic thinking, divergent thinking, convergent thinking, deductive thinking, creative thinking. So a lot of different board games to support and nurture each of these different abilities to think, which does not get supported and nurtured in our traditional program. All right, great. So we still have 12 minutes. So let's see what is it that you would like us to address or talk about.
Yeah, hi Pavan and Munira. Thank you for a very good session out there. I just wanted to know that how do you deal with the YouTube problem while feeding? I mean, that's a very big challenge.
All right. So yeah, go ahead, Manir.
Pavan,
My
there's
child,
also a question around video games and screen time, so we can club the answer for both these
yeah,
questions.
Okay.
yeah.
So
My
so
child is 1 year, 3 months. He doesn't eat without seeing a rhyme or something. So
so that's
that's
a
the problem.
yeah.
That's the problem
One
I'm facing.
one good thing is, Renuka, you are attending the session while he's just 1 year and 3 month old. So we
Yeah,
do not want to expose them to electronics, specifically in the first 6 years. And eating time and feeding time, eating time and eating time should be eating time. So we have done a very interesting session on food, which is there on our YouTube channel. But let's see, Sheetal, can you post the link of the specific session we have done on food? So we have done a 1 hour elaborate session on that, Renuka,
okay,
for you
okay.
to understand, how to support children with eating independently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
And Manish, how to deal with games, screen time. See, we brought in those video games, we brought in that screen time, and what they watch electronically is so fascinating, such a high impact on them that
Yeah.
anything which they do offline real time is not interesting and exciting anymore. So you will have to have, in the first 6 years we are clear about no electronic time, 6 to 12, very little you can expose them to, but with total control and with lot of limitations. If you don't limit them, then they would not want to do anything real time, and the real learning and development, the brain development, all that can only happen when they do things real time. I don't mind they playing 12 hours a day in summer, playing board games or any games real time, physical outdoor games, to any kind of games. Games are really good, but not video games. Yes, ma'am.
So, to add to what you just said, Pavan, so Manish's children are 7 and 12. And I think what happens after a certain age is that, our expectation of children being completely independent is very high. And we want them to do everything on their own. Whereas post 6 years, children need us for a lot of intellectual stimulation. They need us to answer all their why and how questions, because that is what is coming up post 6 years. So what Pawan said about, you playing, like children playing a lot of board games, it's not like they will be playing board games alone or with their friends, but playing these games with you would make a huge difference to your child. Playing all these outdoor games with children, playing football, basketball, whatever possible games outside the house, where they are played with the parent, is what enhances your relationship with your children. And that also takes them away from the screen, because that's absolutely damaging and it does not do any good at all. So the more time you can spend doing these activities, these physical activities, these intellectually stimulating activities, is where you can make a huge difference to your children.
I would also like one
Yes.
more. I would also like to ask one more thing, that is it is it good to put a child to a preschool or something? I mean, at between the age of 1 to 3 years.
Yeah. So, see, I don't want to talk about the other preschools. In Montessori, a
Yeah,
school,
Montessori.
yeah, in a
Exactly.
class or an environment which we call, they are totally developmental. If you look at our traditional school, even at 2.5 years, I would think twice to send the child or not, because
Yes.
the child is made to be seated in one place for 3 hours, and a 2.5-year-old shouldn't be sitting, cannot be
Yes.
seated in one place without moving. So our environments are very developmental in nature. They are designed to cater to the child's developmental need of that age. So we do have a toddler program where we take admissions right from 12 months. The only criteria is a child should be able to walk comfortably without any support. So where as a part of toilet training, we support the children in their independence with regard to they eating all their own, they're taking care of the environment, a lot of language development, a lot of motor coordination and sensorial development, which is supported as a part of toddler program. So if you would like to know more about what happens at Blue Blocks, we are doing a very interesting session on the admissions at Blue Blocks. So the session would be from 10:30 to 12. So if
Okay.
you are interested, please share your email ID and phone number, and Sheetal will reach out to you with the link for the Zoom session on Saturday.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that's not like an open invitation for all. We do that session exclusively for parents who are interested in knowing more about this Montessori pedagogy and how at Blue Blocks we implement that.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thanks for
Sure.
asking that, Renuka.
No, no, that's all right.
All right. Any more questions? Anything you would want to ask? Anything you would want me to address?
Now, the only problem right now with the screen time or the YouTube watching is that both the parents are quite busy
I know.
and they're not able to give time to the
Like that's
child.
yeah, that's the easiest way of parenting right now and the most detrimental
Yeah,
for
we
child
try to
development.
avoid it as much as possible,
Yeah,
but then sometimes it's really not practical
yeah, yeah.
to sit with the child for so many hours.
Yeah, but we'll have to figure out many different creative ways than
Yeah,
being
yeah,
in front of.
yeah,
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 we understand the challenge of being able to spend enough time with children, but that doesn't mean we do things which are detrimental for our children.
yeah, that's true.
Great.
Thank
Anybody else? So Manish has asked question, what are your views on online schooling during lockdown? It seems to be in favor. It adds to screen time in our opinion. You're right, Manish. So, the virtual program for younger children should be like too little and negligible online screen time. For children between 6 to 12, certain amount of time, as I said, is okay. And right now, since there's no other choice, there's nothing else, we do a little around that screen time based on the current situation because there's no other choice. All right. Any other questions? All right. We are left with 3 more minutes. If nobody has anything to say, feel free to post your feedback in the chat box so that we know what was your experience of today's session. If you want the write-up on independence, please share your email ID. The session we did on food, we do not have the video recording of that, but we also have another chapter on food. So people who would like to read the chapter on food and getting children to be independent with food, please share your email ID and we will also share that chapter with you. For those of you who would want to know more about Montessori methodology and more about how we do things at Blue Blocks, and if you want to attend our Saturday session, again, share your phone number and we will share the link of this Saturday session with you. Feel free to share your feedback in the chat. We are doing another interesting session this Friday. What's the session about, Anita?
I'll also have to look it up.
All right. Let
Yeah,
me.
I think we're doing a session about academics versus skill building.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are doing a session on academic learning versus brain development this Friday from 3 to 4 same time. We'll be posting the link to register on our Facebook page. But if you want a link directly, feel free to share your email ID or phone number and Sheetal will also share the link for the next session.
Thank you all for the great feedback that you're giving us. Thank you so much. In fact, I think today's session was very close to both Pavan and I because we strongly believe that the responsibility of parents is a shared responsibility, and unfortunately, nobody trains us or nobody talks about our role before we become parents. That what role are you going to play in your child's life? So we thought it's a good time to talk about it right now, at whatever stage of parenting you might be in.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for sharing your email ID. We'll share the notes and write up shortly. Thanks for the feedback, Rohit. Thanks for participating. It was great to have each one of you on this call today. Really appreciate you taking time on a working day between 3 to 4, listening to what can be your role as parent. And that really means a lot. Me, Munira, and our whole team is here to help you out with any kind of parenting challenge in your decision making on what kind of schooling would you like to put your child in. So this Friday session, we will also be talking a lot about, the academic learning versus what kind of learning will help the child's brain development. Even if you're not considering Blue Blocks, even if you're not part of Hyderabad, feel free to attend our session. Feel free to spread this message with other parents to come and attend this session. We'll be more than happy to accommodate much larger number than the numbers which are attending. All right. All right. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
I think Rohit has a question. One last thing, the book that you showed, can you share the title of the same, please? I'm sharing the title of the book. This book is written by me and Munira on parenting in the first 6 years. It's called Lining the Nest. Can somebody share the Amazon link right away? Sheetal or Chani, would you have the Amazon link? See if you can share that. If not, you can type it on Amazon and you will find it.
Thanks for that, Pawan.
All right, great. Thank you so much. The session will be on for a couple of more minutes. Some people are still sharing their email IDs, so we will wait for a couple of more minutes before we sign off. So feel free to